It started with whispers, soft voices at the edge of consciousness, bleeding through meditation, dream states, and the fragile silence before sleep. Human psychics around the world began reporting the same thing. A message, a warning, not from this world but from the astral plane. They described it as a vibration that carried emotion instead of words. A deep and urgent dread. A sense that something ancient was stirring, something humanity wasn't ready to face. These warnings intensified in late 2022. On forums and private networks, psychics claimed that the messages spoke of shadows in the sky and the thinning of the veil. That same year, commercial pilots and passengers began reporting strange humanoid shapes through aircraft windows, figures clinging to the edges of clouds, with wings of smoke and eyes like dim, burning stars. These sightings were dismissed as light refraction, atmospheric distortions, or stress-induced phenomena. But those who experienced them knew it wasn't optical, it was psychic. They said the beings could sense their fear. The Telepathy Tapes podcast began covering these encounters. Its early episodes featured interviews with people who claimed to have received telepathic downloads warning them not to fly. Episode 3, The Voice Over Clouds, featured a flight attendant who described hearing a male voice whisper directly into her mind during a flight. "They are watching through you." 2 weeks later, she vanished. The episode was quietly deleted, though fragments survived online. By early 2024, the phenomenon had a name in psychic circles: the replacement protocol. Those who received astral warnings disappeared or behaved differently afterward. Loved ones described them as emotionally hollow, with mechanical speech and empty but alert eyes. Researchers within the psychic underground began linking these cases to something they called the Silencing Society, a hidden network monitoring those who came too close to the truth. 2018, the first frequencies. Small meditation communities began reporting disruptions in their mental quiet. People who practiced deep trance claimed to hear faint static that grew into broken syllables. The sounds were consistent across groups worldwide, with no connection between participants. The words were unclear, but the emotional tone was one of fear, urgency, and sorrow. A handful of audio-sensitive psychics tried to replicate the sound using brainwave generators but found the pitch impossible to reproduce through known frequencies. 2019, the mind glitches. Artists, writers, and sensitive individuals began describing mental interference. Fleeting visions of eyes peering through darkness, or flashes of aerial scenes seen from impossible heights. Some experienced temporary loss of motor control during these moments, as if an external consciousness were briefly overriding their perception. A few described it as being observed by the sky itself. 2020, the dream wave. As global anxiety surged, thousands of lucid dreamers started reporting shared dream spaces. They described giant shadow beings standing silently above the planet, watching. These entities didn't speak but radiated an emotion like pressure, warning, or judgment. A study conducted by an independent research collective found statistically significant overlap in descriptions of these dreams, suggesting a collective psychic broadcast was occurring. 2021, the interference line. Psychic mediums and remote viewers reported losing clarity during readings. Instead of human spirits or memories, they encountered a repeating symbol, a black spiral over a cloud field. When sketched independently, the drawings were nearly identical. Hypnosis subjects described flying machines surrounded by smoky shapes that whispered in languages that defied recording. Every audio attempt resulted in electronic distortion and data corruption. 2022, the veil weakens. This year marked the first confirmed psychic blackouts. Clairvoyants claimed their visions abruptly went dark mid-session. Many experienced nosebleeds and migraines afterward, accompanied by dreams of falling cities and metallic skies. Around the same time, airline staff began noticing electrical anomalies at cruising altitudes, unexplained flickering lights and interference with cockpit instruments. Psychic communities began to connect the experiences, the blackouts on the ground, and the figures in the clouds above. 2023, the demon flights. Multiple flights reported near-miss encounters with unidentified aerial entities. One viral video from Flight 207 showed a humanoid figure hovering near the engine before disappearing into vapor. The footage was debunked as compression artifacts, yet several passengers confirmed seeing it in real time. Telepathy Tapes devoted 3 episodes to the phenomenon, featuring witnesses who said they heard voices warning them that they are replacing the ones who see too much. Governments issued no public comment, but internal flight reports leaked, revealing that flight attendants were being trained to handle psychological disturbances triggered by atmospheric anomalies. 2024, the replacement protocol. This was the year fear turned to paranoia. Guests from Telepathy Tapes began disappearing. Some quit their jobs, cut off family, or claimed they were being followed by unmarked vehicles. An anonymous message sent to the podcast's host read, "They're not demons. They're observers, and they're choosing who gets to speak." Soon after, the host went silent, his accounts wiped. Private investigators who looked into it reported unusual interference on their phones and emails. 2025, the year of interference. Mass electronic interference occurred during psychic gatherings across Europe and the Americas. Recordings captured strange layered voices speaking at multiple frequencies. Listeners described nausea and dizziness as though the sounds were directly affecting the brain. Psychics said the voices repeated one warning: "Do not ascend in metal. The sky is hollow." Several pilots permanently grounded themselves, citing recurring nightmares of invisible beings pressing against aircraft windows. 2026, the astral fracture. Spiritual mediums and clairvoyants began collapsing mid-session, screaming that the astral plane was breaking apart. Some awoke describing false skies and a second sun rising from below. Flights experienced unprecedented turbulence near equatorial routes, and radar readings began showing echoes from empty coordinates over the Atlantic and Pacific. Government agencies quietly attributed it to atmospheric interference, but leaked communications hinted at something else: an invisible field surrounding the planet, distorting electromagnetic patterns. 2027, the Great Silencing. All online archives of Telepathy Tapes vanished overnight. Only fragments of a final, unreleased episode were recovered. In that audio, the host claimed to have made direct telepathic contact with an entity calling itself the Warden. The being warned that humanity had ignored repeated calls to prepare for the cycle's end. The recording ended mid-sentence, followed by a metallic screech that erased part of the waveform. 2028, the Shadow Summit. Whistleblowers from private aerospace companies leaked documents suggesting high-level meetings between government officials and intelligence agencies about non-human telepathic interference. The phrase "silencing society" appeared in redacted memos. Reports claimed this group's purpose was to monitor individuals affected by astral transmissions and to neutralize potential leaks through disinformation or replacement. Meanwhile, psychic forums were flooded with fake accounts spreading contradictory information, further confusing the timeline. 2029, the dimming. Across the globe, the sky grew subtly darker. Atmospheric readings showed particulate layers of unknown origin. Psychics claimed the dimming was deliberate, a veiling effect to weaken the astral connection between Earth and the higher planes. Air travel decreased dramatically as fear spread online that something was feeding on the energy of flight itself. Those who continued to fly reported disembodied laughter echoing through cabin intercoms. 2030, the return of the voices. After 2 years of silence, the telepathic messages returned, stronger and clearer. Psychics around the world began receiving identical sequences of numbers, coordinates, and tones. When mapped, the coordinates formed orbital paths intersecting near the poles. Listeners described the voices not as warnings but as instructions. Some claimed they were being prepared for something called the descent of the second sky. 2031, the threshold. As the boundaries between the astral and physical worlds thinned, pilots began reporting radar reflections from locations that didn't exist. Instruments showed duplicate Earth's mirror echoes, as though the planet itself were splitting. Survivors of earlier psychic events described the same phrase echoing through their dreams: "We told you not to look down." No government ever officially acknowledged the phenomenon. But the records, the disappearances, and the remaining fragments of the telepathy tapes suggest that something real did happen, and perhaps is still happening. Somewhere above the clouds, In the space between thought and air, something ancient waits. It watches us each time we leave the ground. And before anyone can speak the full truth of what's coming, someone or something makes sure they never do.